Good morning friends, my name is Gaurav Shrivastava. I'm an MGM student at Royal Roads University, Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Today I would be speaking for around 15 minutes on the introduction and couple of strengths, weakness, the goals, some stories, rationale, and at the last conclusion. So before starting my 15-minute presentation, I would like to thank the beautiful lands of Songhees and Eskimo people who has given us an opportunity to study at this beautiful campus. So in order to take it further, I would like to start about my introduction. As I said, I'm Gaurav. I was born in the state of Punjab in India, and I have studied from St. Joseph's Convent in Chandigarh in 1994. In 1996, I completed my senior secondary in DAV Public School. And from 1996 to 1999, I completed my first bachelor's in business administration, where my majors were marketing and finance from Meerut University. Then finally, I did my master's in business administration with majors in finance and marketing from Rajasthan University, based out at Jaipur. So this is my brief introduction. I have a good experience in my professional life where I have worked with certain banks and consumer durable companies like I've worked with Kohler, that you all know, and then I've worked with a company called Godrej and Hindware. These are the consumer durable companies. I've also worked with banking companies, especially in the field of mortgages like ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, and Yes Bank. So taking it further from my brief introduction about my academics and professional life, I would like to speak on my couple of strengths. The first and foremost strength that I can recall that is there in myself is good communication skills. I can easily recall that as far as communication is concerned, communication is the art of exchange of ideas, expressions, or messages between two people. There is a sender, there is a receiver, and there is a way of communicating. Once the message is decoded in the best possible way, the other person can also communicate back and provide you with the feedback. But before starting on this skill set, I would like to quote and refer to a very important person, the ex-US President Barack Obama. He said, I quote, "It's important to make sure that we are talking with each other in a way that heals, not in a way that wounds." It makes a lot of sense. Such kind of polite words by the ex-president. I would also like to quote a very famous marketing guru, Peter F. Drucker. I quote, "The most important thing in communicating is hearing what isn't said. Sometimes speaking or learning also makes the equal difference, because till the time you have not grasped the things, you can't communicate. And sometimes good communication, having a right pitch, right tone, right message, right body language, right contact, these are the very important skill sets of communication. And I think I have attained this skill set from my academic and professional days in India. Last but not the least, on communication, I would also like to quote George Bernard Shaw. I quote, "The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Sometimes speaking a lot or listening less also creates a lot of problem. So one should be quite assured that whatsoever is speaking happens with the right attitude." So as per my understanding, I am quite lucky that I have these communication skills, and I'm still trying to improve on this particular strength of mine. As far as my second skill set is concerned, I can choose critical thinking or the logical decision making as my second skill set. Since I come from a background of professional life in mortgages, especially in banking, there is a lot of analysis that happens. So slowly and slowly, when so many class presentations or you say the case studies or the real life situations happen, you automatically develop this kind of reasoning or the critical thinking. But before starting to illustrate, I would like to again quote Aristotle. I quote, "It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it." Secondly, I would again like to quote the ex-US President John F. Kennedy. I quote, "Too often we enjoy the comfort of opinion without the discomfort of thought." It makes a lot of sense. So once you have different situations or different possible ways to complete a thing, your critical thinking or decision making of being diversified, giving a thought to all the perspectives in life makes a lot of sense. So I do think that yes, this particular trait I do possess. At last, I would also like to make it happen by saying that education is what remains after one has forgotten everything one learned in school. These are the words of Albert Einstein. What a beautiful scientist who tried his best for 1,000 times in critical thinking and then finally gave us a beautiful bulb which helps us to study in the nights, to walk on the streets, and it has given us a beautiful platform to go ahead in life. So these were my two traits, communication and critical thinking. Now, everything has pros and cons. I do have certain stretches in my life. These two stretches are, the first one is too honest. So yes, I can recall that yes, since I'm a mortgage professional and I'm a little open and extrovert person, I'm really too honest. Too honest in the sense that suppose if you are communicating with somebody, you don't hide all the aspects of life. You are little more than a transparent person, because once you are more transparent, you are able to communicate your message in a very, very effective way and there is no confusion. So sometimes yes, a trait sometimes overlaps and it becomes a little bit of a stretch or a weakness, and being too honest can be one of the stretches. The second stretch is being a bit emotional. I come from a joint family where most of the family members live together. We have a strong bond of emotions, affections, love, hatred, expression, and since I come from that kind of a background, there is a high quotient of emotional values. So sometimes these emotional values don't pay you that much greatness in your life, and you are able to show your emotions regarding your academics or your professional life. Yes, I think that being emotional is also a kind of a stretch that a person can work on. In order to take it further, I would also like to speak on certain stories or maybe an example regarding my strengths and stretches. Those are the certain experiences. So these are, as far as my communication and critical thinking that we were just talking some minutes back, I can recall the days of my bachelor's in business administration at IMS Ghaziabad. Because of my good communication and critical thinking, we won first prize in the festival called Milaj. Now Milaj is an annual fest where around 10 to 12 teams of different colleges, universities, they come together to the campus and there is a debate and extempore. So luckily I got a beautiful topic on Mahatma Gandhi and I used my critical thinking and I related certain core concepts and I was able to get the first prize for my team. So this is one of the small stories I recall from my bachelor's days. I even have a second experience from my master's days where in my Rajasthan University campus, we got the first prize in debates and extempore and in some quizzes. So yes, once you are doing some quizzes, you use a lot of critical thinking, and once you have the answer in your mind, you have to be a good communicator so that you can deliver that particular message in the timelines so that it gets noticed and you are able to win the debates and the quizzes. So this was the application of communication at the academic level. While I speak on the professional level, I can also relate that during my days in banking and in consumer durable companies, it has helped me to excel in life because I was a regional manager and a vice president at this point of a time. So I was a good communicator and I'm a good critical thinker. Whenever we used to have meetings, we used to imply all the different aspects of critical thinking or the best possible outcome that is available to us. Suppose for an example, in a mortgage, when a customer comes with all the financials, balance sheets, profit and loss accounts, his credit card history, his property, and his, you can say, the CIBIL scores. So you are able to screen them all together. You used your mental faculties so that you are able to come to a best possible conclusion. So the banking and the consumer durable industry in the professional world has helped me to excel in life. Similarly, on the other lines, if I talk about some stories and examples about the stretches, yes, I can remember that being too honest and too emotional, sometimes it gives you a bad note in life. I can recall the days of my banking or even during my football days that sometimes once you are little too heated or little too emotional, or I can even say that if you are too open-minded, you are able to not win the confidence of the crowd. But yes, one should hold his horses One should always have a smile on his face. One should be able to give the message to the audience in a right way. So that is another aspect of life. Sometimes once we are doing our board meetings and some customer speaks little loud or little he's out of the way, so you can always politely request him to calm down. Another very interesting instant example that came to my mind is that sometimes our colleagues or the people who are working with you, they ask for some leaves due to on the pretext of being sick or to go out for a party or for a country tour. So being an emotional guy, sometimes you give them a leverage to take a day off. So once they take a day off, they can normally go out, and sometimes you have to listen from your seniors because there is some absenteeism. So yes, sometimes these two stretches have also paid a little bit kind of influence on my mind. So in order to take it further, I would also now like to put emphasis on the goals. Now I have, interestingly, I have done a short-term and a long-term goals. As far as short-term goals are concerned, I have set a 7-year goal in which I want to be a regional manager, vice president mortgages in a reputed bank in Canada. Now, in order to reach to this goal, I use LinkedIn the best of the way. I started making contacts with some recruiters. Rollreds again has a beautiful training, recruiters and career development kind of a team. So we are in touch with them. So in 7 years time, I want to reach at a level where I can sit and I can deliver the message that I've learned at Royal Roads and with my Indian experience. So the banks that I've shortlisted are TD, CIBC and HSBC or Scotiabank. So in 7 years time, this is my goal. If I talk about my long-term goals in life, so after a regional manager, I want to become a CFO, Chief Operating Officer or Chief Financial Officer, again in one of these banks, somewhere in Vancouver or Toronto, because I think I have a required skill set to deliver the knowledge, experience and the message. So once I have all the academic, all the professional and all the beautiful experience in life, I can reach to this particular goal in 10 years time. So these are the different goals that I feel. Now another important thing that I want to speak is about the rationale. The importance of all the goals, all the stretches and all the weaknesses is very important, because these small buds make up a total bouquet. Whatsoever strengths you have, like in my case, communication and decision making, the stretches that I have, again, too honest and emotional, and the short term and the long term goals are very important for me. In order to be a complete human being, a complete person, a complete father, a true friend, a true mentor, or maybe a true leader, these things are quite important. I am in a process of building my character, building my attributes, building my value. So once I have a combination of these particular skill set, I think I can be really true to myself, my family and my friend circle. The time, the energy and the experience that a person gains is very important. Either it's a classroom teachings or the learnings, or it's outdoor learnings. Once you have a lot of learning in you, you have a lot of message, a lot of content, I must say a lot of true content that you can really portray. I would also again like to quote the humbleness of Michelle Obama or Barack Obama, where they are able to portray a lot of message in their lives. Last but not the least, I would also like to speak on the aspect of the final concluding. Like yes, it's a good opportunity given by Royal Roads that we are here on the beautiful campus, and by doing open kind of presentations, debating, extempore, team study basically in cohorts, that is very important, and you are able to learn the different perspective about people. Once you learn different perspective about people, their culture, you are able to communicate in the most of the best of the ways. So once you are working or coordinating within your cohorts, I think this is the time that you get yourself ready for the market. So once you're ready for the market, you have a product that slowly and slowly gets transformed into a beautiful brand. And since Royal Roads is that kind of a brand that is well accepted in British Columbia and the rest of the Canada, I think there are so many takeaways I can take from this beautiful brand. I would also like to mention about this beautiful faculty. All the courses that we have has one beautiful mentor. And once we are learning from these beautiful mentors, we can definitely take it further from here. And I would like to quote at the end very famous Venus Williams, as she says, set realistic goals, keep reevaluating, be consistent. Who has forgotten the fight between Venus Williams and Serena Williams in the playgrounds? Either it's Wimbledon, either it's French Open, either it's US Open, or either Australian Open. Age is just a matter of number. Keep polishing yourself, keep learning. World is your market. Go ahead. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.